Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to manipulate text. And so I've got my map right here. I've already created my lines. I've made sure the layers are all correct. And I'm actually going to put my text onto a new layer. That's not a requirement, just I find sometimes it's easiest to use many layers and to keep track of things that way. And so in order to do that, I'm going to use this text tool. It looks like a T, and you'll be able to see that there's quite a few different options here, but we're going to use this basic type tool, and later on we'll get into different other ways of having text. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom in right here on my first one, and I'm going to click and drag and make a box. Now by default, our fonts, we have a few different options for fonts, and here are the recent ones. So by default it's Myriad Pro, and often when we're looking for fonts, we have an idea of the type we want, what do we want it to look like, but we don't exactly know the name because there's just so many of them. And one thing you can actually do is if you go up here, or I believe that option is here as well, is to filter that. And in this case, mine's pretty modern. It doesn't look like it is from an older style. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a sans serif, and that tends to look more modern, tends to be better for screens. I also want one that's kind of has a heavy weight, something that we'll be able to see fairly easily. And again, I could make a medium weight or a lightweight. The widths we could look for and find, but I think those two options will give me a lot of good options. So now I'm taking a look and seeing which ones look, and as you can see, many of them look very, very similar. And so let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Arial right there. Now, often whenever you have a font, there's actually other options going on. And so here's the size of it. This is the leading, and the leading has to do with how much space is between the lines. And what they used to do, the reason this is called leading, is whenever they used a movable type press, they would actually put in strips of lead to increase or take them out to decrease the distance between the different blocks of text. We also have kerning, that really is the space between the letters, and so a smaller space will be tighter kerning, and then a wider space would be looser kerning, and that has to do with how much space is between those. I'm going to leave those by default. I've already changed the size, so I've said 19. I think 19 is going to work for me. Then what I want to do is I actually want to manipulate this and get it into the right spot. And one thing that you should probably do is have the text box fit pretty close to the actual text that you want. And so I'll change this to Elks Beach, and then from there adjust it. Now, one thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to rotate this, and so I'm going to go over here in my properties panel, and I'm going to type in 45 degrees. And once I click out of that, it has rotated the box and text and all. One thing I've noticed is that whenever I try to free rotate like this, what it does is it keeps the text the same orientation, but then the box itself orientates differently and changes. So I think this is right here going to be the best way to do it. There's also the edit and object transform, and this one happens to be rotate. So from there, I'm going to move that. I'm noticing that my text is pretty close to the end. I'm not going to have quite as much space up here as I want, and so I have a couple options. I can move everything down a little bit, or if I want to, I can actually resize the font. And so what I think I'm going to do is unlock layer 2, lock layer 1, and go ahead and just move everything down just a little bit. There we go. And that allows me to then move elk speech right there. So there we go. That is text and how to manipulate that. If you have something that is very similar, you don't want to change that font all the time, a very quick and easy way to do that is our copy. So I'm holding Alt, clicking and dragging that, and from there I can edit this and change it. So this one is Ballard High School. Now sometimes you're going to notice that text goes off, and so there's a couple different ways to solve that. Obviously having less text is fine. The other option is to change the size of that box. So there we go, we've got text. That's how you manipulate that. I'm going to continue on and get all of my different names and everything on here. From that, we'll get on to exporting it and turning it in.